kindergarten starters, a primary school in Dubai in the United Arab Emirates. It was not always a vibrant school as it is today. So I'm going to retrace my steps about this school's history and how it has come to be one of the leading schools in the United Arab Emirates. 10 years ago, when I took over the school in 2011, it was a traditional school following a CBSE Indian curriculum where students were passive learners sitting behind wooden desks in rows, much akin to the industrial era. So, as I took over, I had the opportunity to work with the outgoing principal and the vice principal for a period of a month, and I used this time to actually understand the school. So as I'm relating the story, I'm going to touch upon 4 aspects that changed: the relationship with teachers, those with parents, the mapping of the curriculum, and our journey to where we are today. I used that first month to walk around the corridors, to talk to ancillary staff, to parents, to students. I looked in on lessons, and what I saw was not something that inspired me. The soul of the school was missing. What was happening in the classes were young children as young as 3 and 4 years were bent over, writing copiously. We could hardly hear the sound of student voices. Our teachers were the fount of knowledge. They were at the front of the class. I knew there were several things that had to change. The school was a happy place. Parents were happy. The teachers were happy. The children were happy. The only person who was unhappy was myself. And that is because I did not want our children to continue learning in the self-same manner as I had when I went to school. So that period of observation allowed me to get in touch with a number of staff who actually bought into the vision for change. So, armed with the help of about 20% of the staff, I was able to effect changes in the school once the principal and the vice principal had exited. Most of the staff were more than 20 years old in the institution, and they were deeply entrenched in old ways and strategies of learning. What I envisioned was a school that would move to transacting the curriculum using digital resources. 10 years ago, we were early adapters. People hadn't bought into this way of learning, and much work had to be done to change the school. I felt what was required was a systemic change, so I had to pull up the existing structure by the roots and completely remove textbook-based learning. A lot of changes were taking place, including the seating in school. The environment where the children were learning now became collaborative. We changed the furniture. We found the resources. We began training our teachers. And I even sent out circulars to parents to inform them of what was going to take place. No one took me seriously, not until the start of the academic session when they went to buy books for the children. The bookseller told them there were no books, and there was only notebooks and some stationery. And you could well imagine my office and that of my vice principal was flooded with parents demanding to know whether we were actually planning to carry out what we had proposed. At that point of time, I did reflect whether the school was given to me because people believed that I had the potential to change the school, or whether it was thrown as a challenge. However, I had picked up the gauntlet. Parent by parent, we explained to them the advantages of transitioning to a digital curriculum. And I prevailed on parents and asked them to give me 1 year in which to make this work. Otherwise, I was willing to retrace my steps.
The digital transformation of our school started in 2012, when the school began with a pilot project to replace the textbooks. for the very first time with the much acclaimed teaching and learning resource McGraw-Hill. For the students, teachers, and parents, it was just the beginning, but for our school, it was a very important milestone that set the foundation for years to come. We believe in a holistic approach of learning, and using STREAM is a great way to follow this approach. While students at our school are trained to think out of the box, but it is the fact that they also adapt cohesively to the 21st century skills that makes this approach truly practical. The right technology helps educators to encourage students' creativity. Lego and robotics provided the teachers at the kindergarten starters an evident visual understanding of what technology is capable of in making their students innovators and creators. The school invested in these resources, and gradually, these resources turned out to become a prized asset for the school. Every year, our students participate in local and global competitions such as Global Innovation Challenge (GIC), First Lego League (FLL), and have created various prototypes and innovative solutions. We have a deep-rooted culture of innovation, and this is evident in the way students show acceptance to the use of technology in their regular school lessons.
Integrating the Expo 2020 curriculum has been truly impactful in ensuring that our school curriculum is not just enriched but also progressive and deeply connected with the local and global communities. The Expo 2020 Dubai is the most awaited event of not just UAE but also the entire of MENA region. By mapping our school curriculum objectives with that of the Expo-related themes and sub-themes, we have given our students an opportunity to get this great insight into whatever changes are going to happen in the world around them in near future. Our team of teachers worked very closely with the Expo 2020 school program team to create these wonderful lesson plans and classroom resources that are now being used by teachers across the world to transact the Expo 2020 curriculum. This curriculum, linked to the Expo 2020 objectives, has encouraged creativity, innovation, and collaboration in our students while exposing them to the various technological advancements in the fields of sustainability, mobility, and opportunity.
The part about being a good leader is that you have to permit yourself to fail, and you have to permit your staff to fail as well. Mistakes have been my best teachers, and I make them often. I don't consider them as mistakes. I look upon things that I do as things that were not done at the right time. I keep it away, and I use these opportunities when they come to reinvent learning in the school. So once we had decided we're going ahead with it and parents were on board, we needed time for continuous professional development. Teachers were not prepared to come in on a Saturday. They were not prepared to stay back after school. Again, I approached the parents and I said, I need to send your children back on one day every month at 12 o'clock. Now, they're fee-paying parents and we're a mid-market segment, and they definitely were not happy about the proposal. Then I explained to them, if you don't have competent teachers, the learning that your children are getting will be undermined. Finally, the parents decided to give that a go as well. So every third Tuesday from 2011, we've been doing what we call early release, where all the children go away at 12 o'clock in the afternoon, giving the teachers 4 hours of continuous professional development. I believe that the best learning happens when teachers can learn from their mentors and their peers immersed in the craft that they have undertaken. While standalone PDs are good to inject some new ideas, the continuous professional development that teachers experience while at school is the best form of professional development.
Every teacher at the kindergarten starters completes a minimum of 150 hours of professional development in an academic year from April to March. Common planning time or the CPT meetings, which are built in within the timetable weekly once, is a wonderful opportunity for the teachers to sit together, share best practices and plan lessons collaboratively. We also have a mandatory professional development plan in which every third Tuesday we have monthly CPDs organized for all our teachers for 4 hours. These CPDs are need-based and they are very closely linked to the school improvement plan so that each one of us can contribute our best to the collaborative endeavor of improving student learning outcomes as well as the quality of teaching and learning across the school. Finally, every teacher at the kindergarten starters is encouraged to undertake action research as a professional development tool, and every assistance required by them is provided by the leadership team. Now, in 2021, we have completed 7 seasons of the action research carousel, and in this current year, which is the 7th one, we have 104 teachers and leaders taking part to complete 27 successful action researches. They share their case studies and action researches with the wider community and have emerged as reflective practitioners. In the current ongoing pandemic, during season 7, our teachers and leaders have researched on the impact of remote learning on student learning outcomes. The teachers and leaders who have successfully finished action research throughout all these years affirm the fact that without any doubt, action research is the best form of professional development as it helps them to inquire, ask questions about their own educational practices and allows them to make informed decisions to improve the same.
In the space of 4 years from when I joined, the school moved from its acceptable rating in the Dubai school inspections, which were taking place every year, to a good rating. The continuous professional development, the continued monitoring, the expansion of the leadership team were beginning to show results. However, I wanted much more for the school. So I traveled to Reggio Emilia in Italy, and I underwent training to learn new strategies and new ways of approach for what is perhaps the largest kindergarten in the Middle East. We have 80 sections of kindergarten students, 2,500 of them under the age of 4. So while I was there, I came face to face with newer methods of learning for children, purposeful play, teachers documenting student thinking, and I was excited at the possibility of transforming learning for our children. Armed with my newfound learning, I came back to cascade that to our kindergarten teachers. At the same time, GEMS was in contact with Project Zero, Harvard Graduate School of Education, to have a project undertaken with 7 GEMS schools called Creating Communities of Innovation. We were one of those 7 schools. And that association, along with the Reggio approaches, transformed learning at the kindergarten starters.
So let me take you a few years back when we began exploring the Reggio Emilia approach after the international study tour to Reggio by our principal and the headmistress in November 2015. This approach appealed to us and we began piloting it immediately. We also began our action research with Project Zero, Harvard University, Creating Communities of Innovation in March 2016. This research was initiated with a group of teachers and the members from the senior leadership team. And our focus questions were, how can we better make kindergarten students' thinking visible through effective documentation? How can engaging students with real-world problems through STEM approach help find innovative ways to address the global concerns? We use a lot of thinking routines like I see, I think, I wonder, option explosion, compass points, which provided an easy and an inquiry-driven approach to making thinking visible in students across the school. We were very successful in documentation as we highlighted the turning points of exploration, discovery, and representation that summarize the process and results of individual students and collaborative group work as well. These innovation exhibitions were designed to offer formative feedback on the work done, and each innovation exhibition incorporated an increasingly more public audience at the end of each phase of inquiry. All the exhibitions showcase the creation focus of every child, shifting the approach to learning from outcome to the process. And to name a few, the exhibitions were Black and White, Round and Round, Be Our Voice, The Taste of India, Project Malawi, Camouflage, Tolerance, The World of Possibilities, and the last one, Locked but Not Down. Now you may be wondering, what's the impact? What has been the impact? The impact was phenomenal. We could see confident and articulate children who are making their thinking visible. Students are taking the ownership of directing their own learning. Improved quality of documentation, showcasing the process and the learner styles. Teachers and children are joyfully engaged in learning. And about the parents, they're encouraging and supportive, and the feedback helps us improve further. Amidst the chaos of this current pandemic, what keeps us all going is finding joy and achieving milestones. When we look back at everything we have been through this year and the years gone by, we see growth and achievements, learning. Growth that is achieved and celebrated. The journey is making an impact on the little hearts and minds.
Teachers took ownership of the learning, and we had actually moved up one step. But there was a crucial element that we needed to focus on, and that was our parents. As we began to introduce technology and we started the Bring Your Own Device to School program, more parents were unhappy as young children, as young as grade 2, were carrying the devices to school. They complained that they would break the devices, they would lose the devices, they would do things with the devices which they're not supposed to do. Once again, we thought upon a different idea. I realized that parents were apprehensive because they didn't know what we were doing in school. So I literally opened the doors of all the classrooms in the school. Now, when I started this, the teachers were a little worried. They told me that probably the parents would be very critical and they would be very angry when they come in. There would be a turmoil and a chaos like we had in the first year when we moved to the digital learning. I asked some of them, are you brave enough to try something different? So it was decided that the parents would come, but they would visit not their own children's class, but someone else's class. What happened then was, unlike what the teachers thought, the parents were overwhelmed with the wonderful new ways that the children were learning in, that they praised the teachers inordinately. When the teachers began to see that the parents were receiving this new approach well, they requested that they come into their own classes. And I said, why not? It started with maybe 20 or 30 teachers opening their doors. And when they began to see how much of benefit was accruing to the school, all of them decided to do the same. Every year since then, we've had 3,000 or more parents coming in to see the lessons that the children are taking in school. Having opened our doors, it became a sort of an open kitchen, if you will, where they could see how the processes were, what were the ingredients, how did we go about creating a lesson in school. We became transparent. And we derived a lot of benefit from the interaction, because after every session, the parents would speak to the supervisors and to the teachers and give us feedback about what went well and what could be improved.
Though I love so many things about this school, but I would be precisely talking about something which they call as Open Door. Now, Open Door has been with this is probably the first school in UAE that came up with the concept of open doors. We are more than welcome to enter any of the classes, to see what teachers are doing and to learn so many things from them and in fact give them our feedback at the right time. Now, Open Door did not happen only when the practical school was on. We'd been doing Open Doors virtually as well. All we need to do is just inform the teacher and just get into the class and have an understanding of what our kids are doing.
Over the years as an administrator, it's easy to rejoice in things that go well, but if you're really wanting to improve something, your focus should be on what is not going well. So I never let even one element slip by. Every concern that was raised by a parent, whether it was about changing the lighting in the classroom to the carbon dioxide levels, or whether it was about the strategies being employed or children not being on task, we took every concern on board and worked child by child to correct them. This transparency built trust in the school. And this trust is essential for making sure that children learn well. When teachers, parents, and the school community are in a trusting relationship, that is the best kind of growth that any school can give its children. So we had the parents on board. But I began to look at what kind of food, what kind of nurture are we giving our children? I'm not one who believes in just doing something that is laid down by a board or by a management. I also question the practice. I looked at the kind of things that were on the curriculum and decided there were more things that I wanted our children to really learn. Things that have not really been taught in schools. Things like tolerance and generosity. So we began an articulated curriculum of tolerance and generosity in schools. We actually taught children to be generous.
We firmly believe in the education of the head, heart, and hands, inspired by Martin Seligman's PERMA model of well-being. We as educators provide a stimulating learning environment with positive emotions, positive engagement, positive relationships, positive and meaningful interactions, positive accomplishments, and positive health. Now, the main purpose of providing such a stimulating environment is to foster in all students their physical, intellectual, social, emotional, cultural, and spiritual quotients and well-being.
6 years of continuous donations to Dubai Cares, the philanthropic arm instituted by His Highness Sheikh Mohammed bin Rashid Al Maktoum, resulted in the school being recognized as the only educational institution to have supported philanthropy for 6 continuous years. It was not just about giving money, it was getting Dubai Cares to build schools in Malawi, in Palestine. And the greatest joy that we've had is to see our plaque on the buildings in Malawi and Palestine, where hundreds and thousands of underprivileged children are studying in school because of the generosity of children in Dubai. Our children were quick on the uptake. They're naturally kind and generous. They began to engage, and whether in cash or kind, donations started flowing in for Typhoon Haiyan, for the floods in India, for war-torn Syria. Children became givers, and philanthropy became a part of the culture because we decided to embed it in the curriculum. We undertook several such practices to enrich the curriculum. One among them is sustainability and climate literacy. Children must understand that the planet is not an exhaustible resource. They must understand that they have a part to play in changing their behaviors to ensure that the planet is safe for the future. When I saw a course in the newspapers which said that the United Nations is running a certification course in collaboration with Educate Global, and that we could have climate change teachers in our school, I did the course myself. And then I requested every single teacher to do the same. Soon, we became the first school in the world to have a climate change teacher in every single classroom. This caught the attention of the people who had put this course out, Educate Global, in the UK, and they came with the leadership of the Hammersmith and Fulham Borough Council and the Guardian to cover our school's embedding of climate literacy. They stayed here a week and they took back this template to the borough, and now all of the schools in the Hammersmith and Fulham Borough are now training their teachers to be climate literate and embedding climate literacy in the classroom. It's up to us as educators to embed and enrich the curriculum. If we just sat down and did what was just told to us, then we would just be managers. We wouldn't be leaders. To be a leader, you have to become an explorer. You need to go out in search of the unknown. At times you will make mistakes, you will come up against snags, but the idea that you are on a search for something that is of meaning for our children is absolutely vital in giving them the very kind of learning that we want to make them global citizens. I was invited to attend COP25 in Madrid in Spain, and I had the opportunity to interact with hundreds and thousands of political figures, of leaders of state, of people in different organizations talking about sustainability. But I found that there were not too many educators talking about climate literacy. So I took it upon myself as a challenge that we would embed climate literacy not just in our school, but in every single school in GEMS education. When I came and I spoke about this to the chairman, Mr. Sunny Varki, he has given me the honor and the privilege to lead climate education for GEMS in this region and across the world. And it's a mandate to embed climate literacy not just in the kindergarten starters, but in every GEMS education school. This was followed by several big projects like Plant a Legacy, where our children planted as many as 18,000 trees in a year, where children undertook actions like discussing and talking about climate change in the world's first School Conference of Parties Expo in 2020. Where do I see the school going from here? The pandemic swept us all off our feet. A lot of children left the school. Almost 1,000 of them went back to their home countries as their parents lost jobs and they couldn't sustain themselves in Dubai. I saw an opportunity in that pandemic. I was not filled with fear and dismay. I actually saw a chance for growing this school. So after the 10 years as a leader of a primary school, the school is now poised to become a true K-12 school. We're going to transition into our second phase of learning. A leader can sit down and enjoy the benefits that have accrued because of the hard work of the last few years. But a leader must still look ahead and see where are we going from here. And where I wish to take this school is towards artificial intelligence, through space exploration, and after the pandemic, I'm considering embedding a mental health curriculum for the school. The world is full of possibilities, but children and adults must realize that it is up to us to ensure that we exist cohesively and ensure not just our success, but the success of others. So we've begun a twinning program with several schools the world over. At present, we're engaged with schools in Malawi, in Bangladesh, in India, in Australia, and the UK. And we're hoping that in the space of a year, we would have reached out to at least 100 schools in 25 different countries. We're teaching our children about sustainable diet, and we're teaching others as well. And I'm hoping that through this collaboration, we are able to inspire others to take the self-same steps as we have. To be a brave leader is not about not knowing fear. It is about being consistent. It is about putting your heads down and working even when you don't see impact. It is about ensuring that you forgive yourselves and others often for what seems to be things that are not working. And if you have faith that your vision is a clear one, you will see the success as we did. Thank you.